My Chemical Romance, a band that's held legendary status in the pop punk, emo, alt-rock scene, but one that I've really struggled to get into over the years. Forming in 2001 in New Jersey, the band currently has 4 studio albums released, making them the smallest artist we've reviewed in a sense, at least as far as the catalog is concerned. Like I said, I have failed time and time again to get into MCR. I really don't know what it is. Well, I kind of know what it is, but it's kind of nitpicky. Either way, with a band bigger than they've ever been, I figured it was a good time to approach this artist again, open up my mind a little bit, and see if I can finally get behind this artist, because it's a long time coming. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, because I listen to every My Chemical Romance album, so you don't have to. In July of 2002, a few months after the band formed, they would come out with their first album, that being, what's the full name? I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. And if you think that's a mouthful, just wait until later down the line. This is the only album that we're reviewing today that I haven't heard a single thing from. I've only listened to 2 of these albums in full prior to starting this video, but with one of their albums, I've at least heard a handful of songs on it here and there scattered across the years. Bullets, I have not heard a damn thing off of, so I was pretty excited to get into it and get a really fresh start into this artist. The first thing I had to take note of is it was a bit heavier than I was expecting, and now the lyrics have always been kinda, I don't wanna say angsty because I feel like that has a negative connotation, but I'm gonna go with it. MCR's lyricism and songwriting has always been on the heavier side, so that wasn't necessarily surprising to me. What was surprising is the style that they chose on this album. It feels almost like a post-hardcore or a straight hardcore project at times. I'd also say it's probably the most unpolished MCR record to date, which is understandable seeing as it's a debut album and not completely a bad thing. The mixing on this project isn't great, and Gerard's performance across the entire album isn't all that compelling to me. But I don't expect perfection on a debut album, and to me that sort of adds to the nostalgia of it a little bit. Now, this is where I'm gonna turn some heads. So if you are wearing socks, please prepare to have them knocked off. I don't really like Gerard Way as a vocalist. Some performances from him are better than others, and I think his voice gets substantially better as MCR evolves and goes through time as a band. But I don't know, something about his vocals has always felt kind of pitchy and grimy to me, and no hate on you if that's your thing, all you diehard MCR fans out there. It's just not my cup of tea, and I certainly couldn't sing better than him. So I am going to eat my own words. With that out of the way, let's start talking about the actual songs themselves, starting with the 2 singles of the album, Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, and Head First for Halos. Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us didn't really grab me all that much, but I can't say the same about Head First for Halos with this dope extended intro to immerse us in the song. I'm not sure how frequently I would listen to it on its own, but as a moving piece of Bullets, as an intricate piece of this album, it's so cool. It almost feels like a Black Parade B-side with how these guitars are syncopated and a little swingy to an extent. The harmonies in the chorus are also really cool, even if Gerard's vocals do get a little pitchy for my tastes. And while it could use a little more bass, that's just a personal preference. It just doesn't feel like there's a prominent enough bass line. And while I wasn't all that crazy about Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, should I just abbreviate that at this point? I will say that things really pick up right after that song, because Vampires Will Never Hurt You is such a great consistency piece. It almost feels like a Silverstein track to me, with the song's vocal delivery and guitar tone immediately making me think of something like Smile in Your Sleep or My Heroine. Once again, I do find Gerard's performance to be a little pitchy in certain spots, but I think that's due to the heavier nature of the song. And also, I gotta say, for a 5-minute song, the pacing is immaculate. Vampires is exciting from start to finish. There's not a single point where it lulls, which for a 5-minute song is really impressive. Directly following Vampires, though, is Drowning Lessons, a song in which I love the guitar performances. Or rather, I guess I love the instrumental in general. It feels very 2010s pop punk, akin to something like The Story So Far, Knuckle Puck, or Real Friends. Is anyone else getting those vibes? Again, my nitpicks about Gerard's performance are here, but the bridge is where he breaks out of that problem for me. The harmonies feel so subtle, yet so impactful to the song. Drowning Lessons does lean on the longer side for me, and I think you could probably cut somewhere from 30 to 45 seconds from this song, but it's not all that egregious of a length. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the song is paced poorly. The last song that I want to sing some praises about is Early Sunsets over Monroeville. Bullets feels crazy and chaotic from start to finish, but this song is an excellent change of pace, a nice slowdown to catch our breaths. Despite its slower pacing and almost lighter instrumental though, Early Sunsets doesn't feel out of place on Bullets, effortlessly maintaining the angsty and aggressive tone of the album. Across Bullets, I think there's only one song that I really have any issue with, and it is a little nitpicky. I just don't really get the Demolition Lovers hype. Production and performance-wise, it just feels like a bit of a bloated and lackluster track to end things off on. Lyrically, things are of course as captivating as we expect from MCR, but the entire track just feels like it drags on for me. That being said, I don't want to give the impression that I completely hate this song and don't have a single good thing to say about it, so let me sing some praises too. Thematically speaking, Demolition Lovers is a transition into the story of MCR's next album, providing the namesake of that album's main characters. If you know anything about MCR, you probably know that they love to tell stories and create narratives with their music. So seeing the seeds of a story being planted and foreshadowed so early is pretty cool to look back on, if you ask me. All right, well, that is Bullets. It probably does rank on the lower end of MCR projects for me, but again, I don't mean that to say it is a bad project or you should feel bad for listening to it. I wouldn't say that you should feel bad for listening to anything unless it's like falling in reverse. My life is like a video game. It is a little unpolished and rough around the edges for my tastes, but if you love this album, if you love these songs, that shouldn't take away from what you find in it. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, I think. Listen to what you want to listen to, and let's move on to the next album. 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, the sophomore album from My Chemical Romance, released in June of 2004. I was in preschool still, dude, that's wild. Earlier I had mentioned that there are 2 MCR albums that I had listened to in full prior to starting this video, and 3 Cheers is one of those. That being said, I would barely even count it because I had only listened to it once or twice. 4.5 years ago. And while I remember not being so fond of it when I first listened to it 4 years ago, I basically treated it like I was listening to a new album for the very first time, and I went in with an open mind, and it was not as bad as I remember. I think 2021 Dalton was just really, really picky. Stylistically, you can definitely see the earliest stages of transition kind of taking place into what will become MCR's most iconic sound. I guess you could argue that this is their most iconic sound too, albums 2 and 3. But it's definitely a step up from I Brought You My Bullets. That's the album I'm thinking of. I think everything's better, from the mix to Gerard's performance to the lyricism. So yeah, A plus, Mr. Romance. Let's stick with the lyricism for a second though, because 3 Cheers, while I wouldn't say it's a full concept album that tells a definitive story from start to finish, it does have a loose narrative following the story of a man trying to bring his deceased lover back to life by making a deal with the devil. I love concept-y albums like this that tell stories across their songs. So for me, this is my biggest appeal to 3 Cheers. And if you ask me, it's only gonna get better from here on the storytelling front. All right, that was brief, but I think I'm ready to start talking about some songs. So once again, we're gonna start with the singles. There are 3 this time, those being I'm Not Okay, Helena, and The Ghost of You. To me, this is far and above a more iconic collection of singles than the last, starting with I'm Not Okay. Without a shadow of a doubt, this would be my favorite song on the entire album, and a contender for my favorite MCR song of all time, but there's one that beats it out that we'll talk about later. And yes, I know that's a really, really basic take, but I don't care. How can you not love I'm Not Okay? The pacing is wonderful, the bridge is anthemic and cathartic, and the music video is just so damn iconic. On the note of catharsis, I'm also probably not alone when I say this is a go-to driving home after an annoying day of work song. Even if the subject matter of the song isn't necessarily relevant to a hard day's work, it's always been such a cathartic and expressive track for me, a great one to just scream into the void after a really shitty day. I will say that while I'm Not Okay is my favorite track on 3 Cheers, I do think there's one that's a little more iconic, and that would be Helena. Admittedly, it's not an MCR track that I return to all that frequently, but I can't deny that it's one of this band and genre's most iconic opening tracks on any album. For me, the highlight of the song are the changes in feel, from high-octane verses into halftime choruses. And on that note of the chorus, it's just so anthemic, so easy to scream your heart out to. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not hard to see why the song got just as big as it did. All around, I think pacing is also a really strong suit of Three Cheers because directly following Helena is Give 'Em Hell Kid, which keeps the pacing exciting and the tone consistent directly following that explosive opener. It is on the shorter side, yes, but it's to the point, it's energetic, and narratively, it's really powerful too. Give 'Em Hell Kid is told from the perspective of the deceased lover, unaware of her partner's actions and underworldly dealings. And if that doesn't send chills through you, I don't know what will. I don't have that much else to say about it, to be honest. It just adds some more depth to the story. It keeps things moving, and I think that's enough for me. Second to Not Okay, I think To the End would probably be my next favorite song on the album. The pacing is so exciting from start to finish, almost reminding me of This Is How I Disappear in some ways. The flow of the lyrics is also weirdly fun, like the back and forth in the chorus between gang harmonies and Gerard's angstier, yelled lyrics are just so addictive to me. I've listened to Three Cheers a few times so far for the purposes of this video, and To the End has been a consistent high point on every spin of the album. It's just so damn replayable. If we're talking about the best written song or songs on Three Cheers, we gotta talk about Ghost of You, right? I mean, how can we not? As you can probably gather from the title, The Ghost of You is a brutal track revolving around the loss of a loved one and all the pain and metaphoric ghosts that brings. I don't think it's a song that I listen to all that frequently outside of full spins of Three Cheers, but it's a high point on those full spins nonetheless. Hang 'Em High is also a track that caught me off guard, and I don't know why it starts off like a soundtrack song from a Clint Eastwood film, but I'm here for it. Seriously, what's with the Western vibes and why do they work so well? Okay, that's apparently all I wrote, so I guess we'll just move on. Once again, we are met with the song that I'm not so crazy about on Three Cheers. In a similar vein to Demolition Lovers, I think it's a track that I think is mostly good, has a lot of praises that I will sing, but I'm a little nitpicky about it. It's Thank You for the Venom. Please don't bite my head off. Like I said, saying I don't like this one doesn't even feel all that accurate. It just has a bit of a rocky start for me with, you guessed it, Gerard's vocals. Once we get to that first chorus though, any complaints and nitpicks I have are thrown out the window, and it makes for an excellent song. So maybe including it under the list of songs that I'm not crazy about on this album isn't even fair. All right, so that brings us to the end of Three Cheers. That's what we just listened to, right? It's a lot better than I found myself giving it credit for over the years. And I'm kind of beating myself up for not going back to it sooner and staying in this close-minded mindset. But we got to it eventually. We got here through Hell or High Water. And I'm glad we did, because I found some new songs to add to my list. I've actually been listening to the End quite a lot since I listened to it again this time around. So that's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's move on to the one that everyone knows. Hey, you. That's right, you. Person behind a screen watching this video. If you're liking the video, now would be a great time to support the channel, and there are a ton of free ways that you can do that. Firstly, and most obviously, dropping a sub on the channel, liking the video, leaving a comment goes a long way of helping to boost my engagement and putting my videos into the algorithm. If you hate my videos down the line, you can always unsubscribe, you can always take away your likes, but if you're liking this one, feel free to drop a sub or like the video. I would appreciate it. I've also got a Discord server, so if you want to come chat with other like-minded individuals, get some sneak peeks on future videos that I've got coming out, Discord is always the first place that I'm going to tease those projects. So if you want to know what's coming for the future, and believe me, I think you're going to want to know, Discord is going to be your one-stop shop for all of that. So again, the server, all that information is in the description. And I think that's all I've got. Okay, let's move on to the Black Parade. October of 2006 would see the release of The Black Parade, My Chemical Romance's third studio album. Yeah, this one's really good. You already know this one's really good. I don't think I'll turn many heads by saying this is the most iconic MCR album, whether it's your favorite or not. Whenever I think about this band, or hell, whenever I think about this genre of music, this album cover and these songs are often some of the first that pop into my head. It's also a concept album, which of course means that the songs just tell a story from start to finish with a beginning, middle, end. You guys know what a concept album is. I don't know why I just defined that. I think the closest comparison I can make to it is something akin to Green Day's American Idiot, which, if I remember correctly, was an inspiration for My Chemical Romance in making The Black Parade. The Black Parade follows the main character, simply known as the patient, who suffers from and passes away as a result of terminal cancer. There's a lot of themes of welcoming death and celebrating life on this album that kind of contrast with one another, but also play off of each other because of that contrast so effortlessly. For the most part, pacing is excellent and smooth on this album. Personally, I think it does start to lull around the second half, right after we get past something like House of Wolves, but that is also the point in the story where things start to kind of wind down a bit, so I think the change in pacing does make sense. The Black Parade contains the largest collection of singles yet, whopping 4. Those being Welcome to the Black Parade, Famous Last Words, I Don't Love You, and Teenagers. Once again, we've taken a step up on the singles to a new, most iconic bunch, starting with, you know it, Welcome to the Black Parade. Look, you obviously knew we were going to talk about this one, and it's not difficult to understand why. There's a reason so many people refer to this song as the emo national anthem. From the slow start with piano and marching snare into the explosion of color and angst of the verse and chorus, I'd consider this a damn near perfect song. If you're anything at all brain rotted like I am, anytime you hear a piano hit that G note, your mind immediately goes to this song. I legitimately can't help it. Moving on through our singles, let's talk about I Don't Love You, one of those songs that you scream at the top of your lungs at 3 a.m. while taking a fully clothed shower in the dark. Can anyone else relate to that? Who can relate? Ooh. Anyways, I Don't Love You is a crushing song, both as a standalone track and as a more intricate piece of the Black Parade. When I first heard this song, before I knew the underlying story of the album, I just always assumed it was about the pain of falling out of love with someone. And while that is a pretty consistent theme, things are a little more complex. In the context of the album's narrative, it tells the story of a toxic relationship between the patient and their partner, with the patient pushing their partner to leave and reflecting how death will soon take them, while reflecting on the hardships and red flags of that relationship. If you also feel dead inside after that, you're not alone. I feel broken. This takes us to the last single that I want to talk about right now, and I saved this one for last because it's my favorite MCR song of all time, Famous Last Words. I cannot tell you just how much crap this song has gotten me through over the last 6 years. From breakups to exam weeks, fallouts with so-called friends, and frustrating supervisors, Famous Last Words is a song that I hold close to my heart, my go-to song for whenever I need a push-on-through type track. It's also paired perfectly with the grandiose, dramatic nature of the guitars and drums, sonically making it an incredibly fitting and satisfying close to this story of the Black Parade. Alright, that takes us through the singles that I want to talk about for now. So let's move into the rest of the album. I've got a lot written, so I'm going to try to speed run through this a little bit. So let's start off at the beginning. Let's start off with Dead. Directly following the end, Dead is a pretty explosive kickoff to throw us headfirst into the Black Parade. Between the flatlining heart monitor and Gerard jumping between characters in the lyrics, it's also the perfect song to kickstart our immersion in this story of the patient. Personally, I love just how high octane this track is, a stark contrast to the bedridden, dying nature of the patient. If you ask me though, the first truly crushing track that just feels like it keeps beating you down on the Black Parade is This Is How I Disappear. The song is a desperate yet unheard cry from the patient to his former partner, in which he admits nobody will remember him after his death, and acknowledges his wrongdoings in life have probably earned him a spot in hell. That's fucked, oh my god. The patient pleads for his former partner to hear him, to remember him, but it's all to no avail. Hence the lyric, "Without you is how I disappear." Aside from any lyrical content though, the chorus of the song is incredibly catchy, which is kind of weird to say for a song of this subject matter, I know, but I had to mention it, and the guitars are absolutely insane on this track. They shred so hard. If we're talking about songs that took me way too long to appreciate though, let's talk about The Sharpest Lives. Start to finish, it's an exciting song, but The Sharpest Lives actually follows a sort of grim story. Yeah, no shit, Dome, the whole album is grim. As I immerse myself further into the story of the Black Parade though, I found myself drawing a lot of similarities between this song and Give Me Novocaine by Green Day. So hear me out for a second. Both characters, the patient from the Black Parade and Jesus of Suburbia from American Idiot, have found themselves down on their luck and looking for a release in the form of alcohol and drugs respectively to take away whatever pain they're feeling. The key difference is the tone of each song. While Give Me Novocaine really feels like it plays into the swelling, overwhelming sadness and depression, the patient pushes back against those feelings, or at least puts on a face and pretends to do so with a more reckless and lively tone. And I love that. I think that fits the story so much better than if the patient were to just kind of succumb right now. And for one more track that I would really like to give some praises to, let's move on to House of Wolves. Because goddamn, this opening is so damn iconic. From the drum line and scratchy distortion into that guitar line, we can't not talk about this song, right? House of Wolves, to me, almost feels like a fusion of 2000s pop-punk guitars with some 1930s big band melodies. Like, if we replace those guitars with trumpets and add a little swing to everything, I think y'all would get what I'm trying to say here. In the context of the album's narrative, however, House of Wolves is the Black Parade's equivalent of something like Highway to Hell by AC/DC. The patient is on his way to hell, and he knows it. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is the patient's true colors showing, but more so an angsty reaction to the circumstances he's in. Like, well, I'm going to hell anyways, might as well be a dick about it. That's not correct, but you get what I'm trying to say. Now, there's one song in the Black Parade that I'm not too crazy about, to the point where I actually skip it somewhat frequently. And that would be Teenagers. I'm not crazy about it. To be fair, while it does remain on the lower end of my Black Parade ranking, most of my distaste towards Teenagers is a matter of over-listening. I have heard this song a lot over the years, by my choice and not by my choice, and at this point I'm just kind of tired of it. That's not to say it's outright a bad song, of course. Next to Welcome to the Black Parade, it's probably the most anthemic song on the entire album. You play this one at emo night and you've got everyone jumping and screaming along. So I don't hate Teenagers, don't get me wrong, it's just a track that I find myself getting tired of pretty quickly. If you're interested in exploring the Black Parade's story even more from this point, I really summed it up. I didn't talk about every single song, so I've left a Reddit thread in the comments that I use to kind of get a better grasp of this story, but I'm sure there are also plenty of talented creators on YouTube that have documented it. So do some research, get lost in the story, and I promise you'll like it. That leaves us with one more album though. So let's dive right into it. Let's rip this Band-Aid off. Danger Days, the true lives of the fabulous Killjoys, My Chemical Romance's fourth and most recent studio album, released in November of 2010. This one's really solid. Danger Days is sort of a weirdly paced album for me. But that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing inherently. There's lots of 4 to 5 minute tracks, lots of extended or longer outros, and the pacing feels a little sluggish to me at times, but I think that's just a nitpick. I think that's just my stylistic preference. Stylistically, it feels like a really sharp departure from anything the band has done yet, especially coming hot off the heels of the Black Parade. It really does feel like there's a heavier pop, electronics, or dance influence across the entire album, and the backing instrumental feels a lot more lighthearted and carefree as a result, even if the lyrics don't necessarily reflect that. If you're not crazy about this album or the style the band went for on it, I can definitely see where you're coming from because it's such a sharp departure. I don't know, I kind of like it. I kind of love how different it is. Similar to the Black Parade, Danger Days is a concept album. This one taking place in the dystopian year of 2019. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love 2019 all that much either, so I get it. Right off the bat, I'm just gonna come out and say that I didn't have a chance to actually engage with the story of this album or study it from track to track like I probably should have. So if you want to learn more about that, I would recommend researching on your own. I apologize for not including it here. I ran out of time, I had to get this video out, and here we are. So apologies. Danger Days also breaks the record on the number of singles with, I think, 6? 5. I was wrong, I can count. Those being Na Na Na, Na 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 Na, Planetary, Go, Bulletproof Heart, The Only Hope for Me Is You, and The Kids from Yesterday. While I don't think I can call Na 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 the best lead single for MCR or the best MCR opening track, it's a really solid one regardless. Following the opening interlude, Na 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 is such an exciting and explosive kickoff to the new sound that is Danger Days. It's high octane, Gerard's vocals are the best they've ever been. You really can't go wrong with this song. I've never seen MCR live, but I gotta imagine this song goes insanely hard in a live setting. I feel like it would be the perfect way to kick off an encore after finishing up a main set. So I think instead of going through the singles, I'm gonna just go through the album chronological order with the songs that I've got praise for. So let's move on to Bulletproof Heart, a song that once again feels so different from anything the band has released up until this point. It feels like something of a safe track, like a song catered for radio airplay, but I don't mean that as a bad thing in this context. It contains a subtle but nostalgic electronic influence, reminding me of something like Every Avenue's Shh Just Go With It, or Artist vs. Poet's self-titled EP. For a song about a getaway plot from an oppressive villain, it's also quite the catchy tune. I never would have expected a lyric like "these pigs are after me" could get stuck in my head, but here we are. Right up there with Bulletproof Heart, Planetary is a song that just feels so uncharacteristic from MCR. Like, this is the same artist that made songs like Skylines and Turnstiles. Just think about that for a second. This is yet another track that I have to imagine is an absolute riot live. It just feels like such a danceable, yellable, anthemic song all around. Picking a favorite off of Danger Days has been really difficult so far because the songs I've found to enjoy, I've enjoyed a lot. Right now, I think I'm going with Party Poison. Similar to the end on Three Cheers, the pacing and tone are incredibly consistent and exciting from start to finish. And Party Poison never feels like it overstays its welcome. Despite its catchy and peppy melodies, Party Poison feels shockingly apathetic to me lyrically, but I think that's what makes it such an effective song, is having that contrast. Like I said, Danger Days is a weird mishmash of styles, and one that really sticks out like a sore thumb, but not in a bad way, is Destroya, because it feels like MCR doing Limp Bizkit or Linkin Park. I would say it sounds especially like Linkin Park with how the song takes its time winding up into the intro. It feels incredibly reminiscent of something like One Step Closer or Paper Cut to me. Now, we don't know if I'd say that Gerard's performance feels thirsty in any sort of way, but it does have this sort of nu metal fluidity to it, where the pitch isn't super important. A lot of these lyrics feel more chanted than straight sung, and I think that benefits Gerard's voice a lot more. I don't know, the style is just so unique and different, and taking a creative approach to Destroya really paid off for MCR. This is such a cool track. I'm gonna kind of skip ahead now to the end of Danger Days to talk about two more songs, starting with The Kids From Yesterday. If you ask me, this song feels like way more of a fitting conclusion than the actual closer of the album, but we'll talk a little more about that later. As far as the instrumental is concerned, it feels like the sentimental song you'd close out a TV series or a film with. For whatever reason, the first thing that I think of is the regular show finale, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Lyrically, however, The Kids From Yesterday actually covers similar themes to This Sensation, recounting memories and reflecting on the band's entire journey up until that point. Especially when you consider that this is the final single that MCR put out before they went on hiatus, that just makes it all the more powerful to me. Now, like I said, if it were up to me, I think I would have ended off the album with Kids From Yesterday, but I do really like Vampire Money. It's a great song, but it feels more like a bonus track to me than a true conclusion or closing song. That being said, it is exciting and thrilling from start to finish, almost closing out the album on a similar note to how we opened it with Na Na Na. It's just so explosive and high octane. Now, there's one song that I didn't really get behind on Danger Days, and that would be Goodnight Dr. Death, which if you've ever heard Goodnight Dr. Death, you probably know exactly where I'm headed with this. Now, starting off, the interludes are awesome, and that's not up for debate. These interludes are so cool to pull us into the story, and Goodnight Dr. Death is a great way to say goodbye to the story of Danger Days. Right up until about 6 seconds are left in the song, and the band just decides to blow out our eardrums at the end of the Star Spangled Banner. I wish I knew what purpose this had, I really do, but it's just so damn terrifying on your first listen, which for me was while I was driving home. So that was fun. But that aside, it's a cool interlude, so I wouldn't even really count it all that much. All right, and with that, that is every MCR album reviewed. So I think we're ready to go on and rank these. And what the hell is the Paper Kingdom? Yeah, so apparently over the last few weeks, MCR's unfinished, scrapped 5th album was leaked online. And I'll be honest, I didn't listen to it. I kind of clickbaited you guys. I was really going back and forth on whether I wanted to check this out, but I thought it wouldn't necessarily be ethical to do so for two main reasons. One, the project and songs are completely unfinished. I don't think it's fair to give my criticisms and compare this project to everything else when it's in a completely unfinished state as compared to something like Danger Days or Bullets, right? I don't think that would be fair to rank this one alongside. I don't think I could do it. And secondly, as far as I'm aware, the project was leaked without any consent from the band. And to me, that sort of feels weird to listen to if the band didn't intend for this to be out in the world. I am personally gonna pass on listening to it. If you have listened to it or you do wanna listen to it, I wouldn't put shame on yourselves. I wouldn't shame you myself. It's probably not all that hard to find. Just do a Google search. Okay, let's get on to the actual ranking now that the bait is done. Number 4, I brought you my bullets, you brought me your love. Putting any of these albums at the number 4 spot felt off to me, but something has to go there, and I think Bullets is the project that I would go back to the least in the future. Like I said, the mix and Gerard's performance are really not where I want them to be for this album. It makes it a little less enjoyable to listen to, but that's not to say it's a bad album whatsoever. Number 3, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. While I did enjoy 3 Cheers vastly more than I remembered or expected to, I think number 2 and 1 definitely surpass it, at least for me. That being said, I will agree that some of the band's most iconic songs and best songwriting are on this album. I mean, you can't go wrong with Helena, with The Ghost of You, with I'm Not Okay, with To The End. There are good moments across this entire album. I don't think there's a single song that I would say is bad. Number 2, Danger Days, the fabulous lives of the true Killmongers. If there was any one album that really caught me off guard and swept me off my feet, it's gotta be Danger Days. This album was so damn cool. It makes me want to see MCR all the more with how exciting and diverse this album is. So as soon as they turn off the dynamic pricing on Ticketmaster and, lower their tickets to something that's a little less exorbitant, we can talk about that. And number 1, The Black Parade.
Daring today, aren't we?
If you want to call me basic for this take, I get it. I accept that. I don't know, it's just such a special album to me. Between the lyrical storytelling, the production, the changes in pacing to reflect what's happening in the story, I mean, everything about this album is just so perfect to me. And even my least favorite song, I wouldn't always say it's a skip. So yeah, Black Parade, number 1. This was a really difficult video to make, not necessarily because the music was bad, because it wasn't. It was quite enjoyable to listen to, but because I feel like I've really been struggling to break out of some nasty burnout recently. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll notice that my last video before this one was a month ago at this point. We made a really hard push at the end of last year and the beginning of this year to get partnered on YouTube, to hit 1,000 subs, and to monetize the channel. And we finally did that. We accomplished the goal, and at that moment, I just crashed. I needed to take a step away from a bit and breathe and just take a break. And now we're back. Here we are. And this was a pretty good video to come back on. I think it's also a reminder to me that videos don't have to be so long. Quality over quantity, right? Just because a video is 2 hours long doesn't mean it's better than something that's maybe half an hour or 45 minutes. I don't know how long this video is. So that's it. That's every My Chem album reviewed. If I remember correctly, I seem to recall them starting to tease some new stuff. So if MCR 5 is coming out this year, we'll do a review on that album in one video. And that'll be cool. But yeah, if you like the content, make sure you like, subscribe, join the Discord, and leave a comment with what other artists I should be covering, what other artists I should be reviewing in this series. Because I'm trying to figure out what the future looks like, and I'm not completely sure yet. I've got some ideas. But yeah, I'm gonna go drink some water and start working on this video. So thanks for watching, and thanks for sticking with me over the last few months, and thanks for having patience with me as I kind of figured out what the future looks like, and as I took a break from the long form videos. I do appreciate it. All right, later.
Who can relate?